Hello everyone, welcome to Simplify 2019. This is the third in our series of webinars, this one on emergency response and public communication. If you've attended the previous sessions, we hope you did enjoy those. We'll have those recordings up here shortly, as well as your certificates delivered by email. I have more information on that at the end of today's presentation. So my name is Jennifer Wilson. I'm the communication coordinator here at wateroperator.org. At the beginning of the session here, I'll be telling you a little bit about our program. We're based at the University of Illinois, and we work in partnership with RCAP, the Rural Community Assistance Partnership, with funding for training and technical assistance from the US EPA. So to kick things off here, I do want to share that we have ability for you to ask questions. You just submit that in the chat box and we'll be able to see those and answer those at the end if you do have any questions. Also, if you have any comments or issues with us, you can submit that via the same box as well. You can also always contact us at info@wateroperator.org to follow up later with any questions. We also have a poll here just to get a sense of who our audience is. So you should be seeing a poll on the screen right now. So are you federal government, state government, TA provider, operator, or some other part of our industry? All right, just wait a few more seconds for everybody to answer. All right, we're getting close. Great. All right, thank you for those who participated. Well, looks like here we have 50% state government and then a mix of other sectors. I want to welcome everyone to the webinar. We hope to make good use of your time here. This will last just an hour. I have my colleague Hideyuki Terashima here as well from wateroperator.org. He'll be sharing on the emergency response part of the presentation. But first, I want to tell you a little bit more about wateroperator.org. And I always start with this slide. This is from that famous movie Office Space where they're taking out their frustrations on a copy machine. But I sometimes think there's similar types of frustrations today with the internet. When you go to Google, Google is the best place to answer any questions. But when it comes to finding exactly what you need, particularly within one industry, sometimes it can just send you down a rabbit hole and you can't actually find what you need. Asset management is a great topic because that covers the financial sector, other utilities. It's such a big topic. Sometimes it's hard to find the information you are looking for. Not to mention websites are always changing, Many of us work at organizations that have multiple levels of bureaucracy, so the actual document that you need is buried somewhere deep and it's difficult to find. And we've tried to solve at least some of those problems with our website. So think about this. What if you could unclutter your email inbox from all of those newsletters from tons of organizations telling you about their trainings and their opportunities? What if you could easily find events that were local to you and not ones that are somewhere that you can't ever get to? And what if you always had that one place where you could go to find all of this and know where to start to get your questions answered? Now, we're never going to claim that we have all the answers, and we do our best to get the best information, but what we excel at is sending you to the best resources. These webinars are one of very few examples of things we create ourselves. Our job is an aggregator, a connector, a networker. We have lots of relationships with folks across the industry, federal and state levels, technical assistance providers, and the consulting industry as well. So we always try to help you get in contact with the right person, the right resource, the right training. So this is wateroperator.org. Obviously, if you are signed up for our webinar, you're probably already getting our newsletter or at least a little bit familiar. We did used to be called smallwatersupply.org for the first several years of our existence, but we did transition to make it more clear that we're really for water operators working at systems of all sizes, as well as serving the wastewater community as well. All right, here. So at wateroperator.org, we do the legwork. That's kind of our slogan. On our national calendar, we list more than 10,000 events every single year We have a wonderful team, which Hideyuki is part of, that works super hard to make sure that our calendar is up to date with events from more than 800 organizations. We also have more than 15,000 publicly available resources. Now, our events are going to include both free and paid events at a variety of price points, but every single resource that we list in our resource library is available for free. And we're going to show you how you can narrow that down and find what you want. So the kind of the format of today's webinar is a mix of showing you how to use wateroperator.org, but also what we feel are some of the best resources out there. We'll be sharing a mix of documents, tools, presentations, as well as different training events that are available across the country. So what we'll do real quick is we're going to pop over to the website. So you should be seeing that now. So this is wateroperator.org, and the one thing I want to draw your attention to is this first button here, right in the middle, get the newsletter. Twice a month, we send out a wateroperator.org newsletter that shares industry news. We try to aggregate information on specific topics, summarize some of the things you may be hearing in the news, and really try to decipher what it might mean for you as an operator or a TA provider or a state government employee. We also deliver 2 additional newsletters during the month, one on innovative treatment technologies and what's going on, particularly for how technologies can reach small systems. And we also do one for the tribal utility community, because we know that there are a lot of different and more complex and varied water issues when it comes to the Native American communities. We've been doing this, you can scroll down here, we've been doing this since August of 2010. So we've been around for quite a while. We love what we do, and we consider ourselves one of the top resources that's an unbiased source of information. Yes, our partnership is with RCAP, but we list on our calendar RCAP trainings, rural water trainings, American Water Works Association trainings, state level trainings. Every organization, large and small, we are an unbiased source of information, and we don't play favorites when it comes to what we share. We want to help you get access to everything that's out there. So during today's presentation, we're going to be learning a lot about the event calendar and our resource library, but I wanted to point out a couple other things that we have here. We have this feature here called Operator Certificate Programs, and this is really neat. If you've ever heard of the Work for Water website, it lists 2- and 4-year college degree programs that will help you get into the water industry. But that website didn't list these 1-year, sometimes less, certificate programs that help operators get prepared to take their exam. And so that's what we have here. So let's just pick an example. Let's pick Massachusetts. We'll search, and we can see there's 3 different programs in Massachusetts. You pop it up, and it'll open up a new window that shows you all the information you need, just the basics, and then, of course, send you to further details. So we really love this feature. This is great for operators who are trying, or even, high school age folks that are trying to get into industry and want to learn what are their options for getting this education, or those who are later in their careers, maybe veterans coming back who want to make a transition. One other option we have here, we have this new class called Groundwater and Well Care for Non-Community Water Systems. Now, this information actually is applicable to community water systems as well, but we really designed this class because most, and really almost all non-community water systems, their job is to do something else. They're running a business, operating a facility. They didn't come to work every day thinking, I'm running a water system. They're often doing that as part of something else. They just happen to also be a public water system. So this class provides the basics of how wells work, how does groundwater get contaminated, and how do you protect those sources of drinking water. And this is completely for free. If I haven't mentioned that yet, everything we do is completely for free because it is grant funded by the federal government. All right. I think that's it for the site demo for now. We're going to get a lot into how to use our event calendar and our resource library. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn it over to Hideyuki to talk about emergency response.
Thank you for the introduction, Jennifer. Is my screen showing fine?
Yes, it is.
All right, perfect. So today I will be talking about emergency response, and we'll be showing you several resources that you can find on our website related to emergency response. For each resource, I'll briefly talk about it and then show you how to find that resource on our resource library and our event calendar. So now to start off, what are emergencies and what is emergency response? If you're an operator, you probably already know this information, but I kind of wanted to lead off with this since I'm not an operator, and when I first started working on this program, I had to learn all of this by myself. So here I have our first resource, which is a short fact sheet that will answer our questions. This is a 2-page fact sheet developed by the Rhode Island Department of Environmental Management and is a portion of their emergency response plan guide. This fact sheet serves two purposes. It gives you a definition of what emergency response is, and also includes a table listing of a wide variety of hazards. And that's what you actually see on the screen right now. It was actually pretty difficult to find a very basic fact sheet like this. It's just short 2 pages. It's short enough that it provides just enough information for a new operator to understand what emergency response is. So now, in order to find this fact sheet on our website, let me switch over to the actual web page. First, this is our main page. Again, you can use the menu tabs at the or menu option at the very top, or there's also 3 icons here under the banner: search the calendar, browse the resource, and read the blog. You can click on browse the resources and click on document search. This will take you to our resource library. So this is our document library page, which is pretty much an online library where we only list documents like fact sheet, research papers, handbooks that are related to water and wastewater operations. We have a database of over 800 organizations, which can be national associations, technical assistance providers, regulatory agencies, and even vendors. From these organizations, we look for publicly available documents that are free and list them on our library so operators can save time searching through multiple organizations' website to find the resources that they need. And to give you an idea, we currently have over 18,000 documents in our database. Our library also has an extensive search engine where 4 different filters can be used to narrow down your search, which I'll show you right now. If you click on the drop down right here, you'll see category, type, state, and host. Host would be the organization that developed the document. State would be if you're searching for a state-specific document that maybe a state agency developed for their own state and it's only applicable for those operators in that state. Type would be what kind of document are you looking for? Again, fact sheets, presentations, even white papers, videos. And category would be the topic of the document. We have a wide list of categories which can be separated into 3 types. Categories related to water operation, wastewater operation, and anything that falls under both of them. So categories for water operation would be topics like water treatment, distribution system, arsenic, lead, and copper. Categories for wastewater operation would be wastewater treatment, biosolids, sanitary sewers, decentralized systems. And categories that would fall under both would be anything related to management, O&M, and even emergency response, which is what we're talking about today. So if I go ahead and click on category, you'll see a wide variety of topics, and at the very bottom, you'll see water security and emergency response. So let's try to actually look for this fact sheet that I mentioned earlier. So what I would recommend is always start off with a category, choose the topic, water security emergency response. And right now, if you search this way, you'll get over 1,200 search results. And that is a lot of search results to look for. So it's always recommended to use extra filters. Our search engine, along with our first filter, you can additionally use 2 different filters. So since right now we chose category, you can also, again, search with type, state, and host. So if we're looking for this document, we start off with the emergency response category. Now we need to refine the search. So we know that since I mentioned it, this is a fact sheet, so let's select document type and choose fact sheets. So now this has narrowed our search down from 1200 to 229, but that's still a decent amount. So now let's select host, and since we know this is from Rhode Island DEM, if we scroll down to Rhode Island DEM, there we go. We have one fact sheet related to emergency response developed by Rhode Island DEM. And if you actually look at the search result now, you'll see the title of the document along with a link that would open the document, a short summary that each of our staff develops for every single document we find, the source page or the repository page where is the page where on the organization's website where the document resides, and the link to the host organization's website. We always make sure to list these so that we don't take credit. We always give credit to the host organization. So if we click on this title, it'll open up a new window, and you'll find that fact sheet. And it's always going to send you to the host organization's page. So that's the basics of how to use our online library. I'll show you how to use the other categories along with our keyword filter for the other resources that I'll be going over. So let me reset this and start from the beginning. So now that we have defined emergency response, let's move on to how to develop an emergency response plan. So this is our next resource. It's a guidance document developed by the Rural Community Assistance Partnership, RCAP, and is designed to assist small water systems in developing an emergency response plan. This guide is broken up into 10 sections and provides examples to help you better understand what kind of information is necessary. The response plan also includes a list of which RCAP region to contact if you need assistance in completing your emergency response plan. So if we want to search for this document, again, let's go to our library, choose the emergency response category, and choose the document type. And we know that this is a guidance document, so it's more along of a manual or a handbook. And if we retrieve documents now, we get 188 search results. So let's try to narrow this search down by using a keyword this time. If we search emergency response plan, we now have 60 search results. This is much easier to look through, so let's actually look through some of these. And everything that you search is going to be alphabetically sorted. So if you start searching through these, you'll start to see, for example, the very top one is Alaska Emergency Response Plan Guide. If we keep going, you'll see Florida Rural Waters Response Guide, Connecticut, Utah. So you'll start to see every state has their own different kind of response plan. But since right now we're looking for RCAP, let's skip through this. And on this third page, you'll find Emergency Response Plan Guide for Public Water Systems. And if you look at the host organization, you'll see RCAP and RCAC. So we know that this is the right document that we're looking for. Now, if you look at the search result, you'll see Emergency Response Planning Guide, and you'll see Emergency Response Planning Planning Template for Public Drinking Water System. So if we click on the guide, it'll actually open its new window, but it'll download the Word document file that's on RCAP's website. And if we look through this, it's 29 pages. And if you start scrolling down, you'll see each of the sections where you can fill out information. In this case, this is the guide, so it actually includes examples. So it's to help you understand what kind of information that you need to enter for every single section. Now, if we look at the actual template, it'll again download the Word document. And you'll start to see that all the fields are empty. So you can print this out, you print the guide as well, and start developing your own emergency response plan. Now, while preparing for this presentation, I got to check out many states' ERP, and generally they all seem pretty similar and contain the same information as RCAP's emergency response plan. However, I noticed that many states have added an extra component to their response plan, And one of those components were a vulnerability assessment. One that I can think of on top of my head is Massachusetts DEP. They have a emergency response plan guide similar to RCAP's, but instead of RCAP that has 10 sections, Mass DEP has 15 sections, and one of them is a vulnerability assessment. So that's our actually next resource. And it's a vulnerability assessment guide developed by ASWA, the Association of State Drinking Water Administrators. And they have a really comprehensive vulnerability assessment guide. It's a self-assessment, and it also guides you through how to take inventory, how to identify threats that can affect your system. And ASWA actually has two versions of this guide, one for systems serving 3,300 and 10,000, and one for systems serving less than 3,300. So anything, even for smaller systems, you can use this assessment. Now let's try to find this document. Let's reset everything here. And again, we're always going to start off with the emergency response category. Now let's just search using the keyword, since we know this is a assessment. So vulnerability assessment. So right now we get 80 search results. You can again search through all these. You'll find vulnerability assessments from different states that use different format. But since we're looking for ASWA's, let's select host. Choose, here we go, Association of State Drinking Water. And you'll find 3 search results, and you'll find the assessment for, again, systems below 3,300 and for systems between 3,300 and 10,000. If you go ahead and click on this, you'll see a 30-page self-assessment. Let me expand this a little bit. And again, it'll be it's a self-assessment, so everything will be blank, and you'll have to fill it out yourself. Now, let's say you wanted an assessment that focused on a specific hazard. This is our next resource. It's the Incident Action Checklist developed by the US EPA. These are 12 checklists designed to help water and wastewater utilities prepare for specific hazards. These are all listed on US EPA's webpage as individual checklists. So for example, right here, I have the Incident Action Checklist for cybersecurity. Each checklist will provide concise information on how these hazards can affect a water utility, a checklist to see how prepared your system is in case these incidents occur, and then another checklist on actions to take when the incident actually occurs. And at the very end, there will be a table to list contact information for who to call when these incidents occur. So it's a great idea to print these out, fill them out, and have them on record where your operators can access in case incidents like this occur, so they know who to call, what to do, and how to react. Now, since this is we have these individual 12 checklists as individual documents in our library, but we also have a link to the web page itself. So if we go to our library, now again, the category will be emergency response, but document type, let's select web page and website list. So right now we have 76 entries, but if we use a keyword like checklist, that'll narrow down our search to 3 search results. And at the very top, you'll find the incident action checklist for water utilities. So if you click on the link, it'll open a new window, and it'll link you to US EPA's page where the individual checklist resides. So let's go ahead and click on the cybersecurity one again. This is a 6-page document, and it starts off with an introduction of what cybersecurity is. Here's our checklist, actions to prepare for a cyber incident, actions to respond to a cyber incident, actions to recover from a cyber incident, and the contact information. So it's a very handy fact sheet or template to use. Now, the last document I wanted to include is another document developed by the US EPA. This is a presentation providing strategies on how to maintain your facility in case there is a power loss. This presentation or guide is useful because it provides information on who to communicate when there is a power outage, how to communicate with your customers when there's a power outage, how to conduct a power assessment, and most importantly, how to choose an emergency generator for your facility. Since I've been working on this project, I've come across many training events for operators on emergency generators, how to choose one and that properly fits your system, and how to maintain your generator, which is why I thought this is a helpful information for operators to have, especially if they don't have an emergency generator or they need to reevaluate their facility's power usage. So let's try to search for this document. Again, we'll start off with the emergency response category, and we know this is a presentation. So one of the document type is slides presentations. So right now we have 168 presentations related to emergency response. Since we know that since we're trying to figure out resources for generators, let's type in emergency generator. Actually, let's just do generator. And that narrows our search down to 10 results. And if we look through these, number 5 is Power Resilience Guide for Water and Wastewater Utilities. And this is the presentation that we're looking for. So once we click this, it'll open the presentation. And if you start scrolling through this, it'll start with each section's communication. Then it'll go to how to contact your customers, who to contact in case there's a power outage. Then if you start scrolling, here is how to conduct a power assessment of your utility. And then it will go on to talk about generators. What size generators do I need? Should I buy or rent a generator? And how to maintain your generator? What kind of fuel does your generator need? Etc. Now there's much more resources that I want to show you, but because of time constraints, I'll just mention that we have all these state water and wastewater agency response networks, or the WARN networks, in our database, and you can find many kinds of forms or templates like boil order notices and public notification notices for emergencies in our documents as well, and you can search those by using the forms templates category. Now I'll quickly go over some other resources on our website aside from our resource library. This is our blog page. I'll actually go to it right now. You can access it by going to the resource library and browse the blog, or you can go to our main page, and the 3 icons at the bottom of the banner, the very right one is browse. Will take you to the blog page. So for every blog post we have staff that will choose a topic and write a detailed article on the topic. These can also be searched, or we have an archive of these, and you can search those using categories as well. And as showing a picture here, at the very right side, you'll have a list of your categories, and one of the category is actually emergency response. So let's go ahead and click on this. Here is our archive of all of our emergency response related blog posts. They're pretty interesting to read. We have staff that take a decent amount of time creating each of these articles. Each blog post might feature a video or even resources that are in our library that might be helpful. So for example, our most recent one, we have drought response and recovery for a town in Castine in Maine. And here's a video that you can watch from the US EPA of how the town responded to the drought, as well as a description of what exactly happened. Now, the last resource I'll cover is our events calendar. Let's go to the page. You can just click on the events calendar up here, or again, you can go from our main page right here, search the calendar. So this is a nationwide calendar where we have staff that again searches through our database of over 800 organizations and collect information on events that offer training credits for operators. We developed this calendar so operators can save time by not having to search through multiple training providers' calendars and find all the events and information on our calendar. Our calendar uses the same filters as our document library. So if you click on the dropdown, you'll find 4 different categories, 4 different filters: category, type, state, and sponsor. The categories, there might be slight variations, but it's pretty much identical to the ones that are in the library as well. So again, categories, we have anything from anything related to water and wastewater operation, and at the very end we have water security emergency response. Type would be, is it a certification exam? Are you looking for a meeting, conference, or are you looking for a workshop? State would be where the event's taking place. and sponsor would be the organization that is hosting the event. So let's go ahead and give you an example. If we choose category and water security, let's go to the next month. So right now for April, we have this many events on our calendar that's related to emergency response. It might look pretty cluttered right now, but that's because, especially if there's more than 3 events on a single day, it'll shorten it won't show the event name, and it'll just show the acronym of the organization hosting it. So for example, up here in April 3rd, you see that NJAES, which is Rutgers in New Jersey, they have an event. But if we look down here, these are all shortened. However, if you hover over the acronym, it'll give you the full name of the event. Now, let's actually try to refine our search, because if you're an operator and you're using this, you're most likely going to use our state filter to figure out what events are in your state. So since we're in Illinois, let's choose Illinois. And for April, right now, we have 3 events that operators in Illinois can take that offers training credits. And if you don't like scrolling through different months, you can also click on the view list option here, which is under the keyword search. And it'll pop open a new window, which would list all the events that fits your search criteria. So you see March event, April event, and looks like we don't have any May, but if there are events in May and further on, it'll show here as well. It also shows the city and the state as well. So if you find an event that you're interested in, you can go ahead and click on the event. So let's choose the Generators and Emergency Power event from TPC, Trinco. And once you click on the event, it'll open a new window, which will give you all the information that you'll need to know: the date, location, start time, a short detail that each of our staff takes time to develop, contact information, the sponsor, how much the course costs, and how many credits, most importantly, the course offers. Now, if you find a course that let's decide that you want to take this course, you can go ahead and click on the event information link, and it'll take you to the organization's website where you can go ahead and register. So we spend a lot of time finding all this information and place it in a single location to save you time having to search through multiple pages on the host organization's website to find all the information, like contact information, how much does it cost, what's the schedule like, and the details of the event. Since our program is to assist operators, you can always call us, email us, and request our help in finding the right resources you need. So if you want to learn more about emergency response and you're in a specific state, you can go ahead and email us. And if you can't find any emergency response plan related information on our library, again, email us and we'll try to help you find the information that you need. And I think that's all I have for now.
All right, thank you. You did a great job of sharing the details of how our tools work and some of the logic we could put into making sure they're really useful for this community. All right, transitioning over to communication. I will not go into so much detail because I think you probably know how to use these our event calendar and our document search tool very well by now. But I do want to share some of our best recommended tools related to communicating with the public. And we're going to be talking here both regulatory requirements, consumer confidence reports, public notification requirements, but also other types of communication, emergency communication, voluntary communications, and general best practices on developing good relationships with your customers. It's a multi-layered issue, and we're going to touch on a little bit through each example. So the first example we have here is we actually have a page called Communicating with Your Customers. We put this together several years ago. We keep it updated, but it's still we feel like these are some of the best resources out there on these various topics. And so actually the examples I'm sharing most of them are not listed on this page at all. We found some new examples that we think are also really beneficial. So this really is our number one and where we hope you'll go. You can find this by going to the resource library, scrolling under resource topics, and it's the public communication page here. Because we want to make sure that you have access to especially really, really quick tools like the CCR and PN quick reference guides, some boil water notifications, just really simple information. Do not drink poster, things like that. We also have some best practices in voluntary communication as well as things related to social media, because obviously we have new platforms that are part of how we communicate and changing expectations as that technology changes along with it. So that's our first resource. I've got 5 more examples here for you today. The next one is a webinar. This one is hosted by US EPA, and this is on lead and copper rule public education and other public information requirements. So to find this, we're going to go to category, consumer information, and then type webinar. We index a lot of free webinars as well as some paid webinars because we know that not everyone can travel to different training locations. Some of them are available for CEUs, such as this one, and some of them are not, or just informational. So if we click on View List, we can see that there were 3 options here, and here's the Lead and Copper Rule Public Education webinar. If I click that, it will open this screen up here to give you the information and how to register for that webinar. This is part of a series that EPA's Office of Water hosts in partnership with their Office of Research and Development. They have a webinar almost every month, if not completely every month, helping especially small communities understand some of these technical issues related to staying in compliance. It's a really, really great webinar series. They're often, 700, 800, 1,000 plus participants, so very highly lauded, and they do give certificates for attendance. All right, now we have one that I thought was really interesting. This is an in-person training called How to Deliver Great Customer Service. It's $125, and it's hosted by the Alliance of Indiana Rural Water. This is an in-person training, and you can't read this on there, but what it says is it's for people who deal with the public, who have any kind of interfacing job, whether you're actually a communications person or you're a meter reader, you're working at the desk, you're the billing person, so anybody who deals with public, this training is for you so that you can deliver great customer service so that your customers can maintain the trust with your organization, because we all know how important that is. So for this one, we'll do category again, consumer information, state, Indiana. So this is an example where you want to find something local to you, so you're going to filter by state. And what we find here, here's our list. We just have 2. We have this particular in-person training, and there's also another one hosted by the American Waterworks Association coming up later in the month. So as we've shown, there's multiple things for each category. This topic is one that probably doesn't get enough attention because it is so important, and it's certainly worth attending and making as part of your learning experience. So here's the individual page for that particular training, again showing how you can go register. There's that information. This is the locations of all of their trainings going on. All right, now we'll move on to the next one. I thought this one was really interesting and a very, very helpful tool. It's converting lab units into CCR units. This is a 15-page fact sheet. It has equations, quick references. It has the reporting language, and it's developed by US EPA. This is a recent document released in 2015, so it's going to be very, very up to date. So we'll do category consumer information again. This one we're going to narrow down by EPA-only documents. And then I actually added the keyword filter of CCRs. We want regulatory-related information from EPA. And so what we found were there were 18 documents. Now this one, I believe this one is on, oh, it's right here. So we pop this up, and here is our document. So very graphical, easy to understand. It explains why you need to convert, and then it has all of the math help to convert those units, because we know that the labs aren't always reporting in the same units that you need to report on your consumer confidence report document. Very, very helpful. You have lots of examples. It gives examples for lead action levels. Again, as you know, that's a more complicated figure. And then it also has some acronyms for you. And then it has all of the health effects language that you need to include on your report with the units that are required for each contaminant. So super handy, includes all of the MCLs here in one document with all of that reporting information. All right. Okay. This next one, super, super important. So using risk communication before, during, and after an emergency. This is a 21-page slide presentation hosted by the Pacific Northwest Clean Water Association, but it was presented by the Oregon's Health Authority. And so I knew that we had a number of resources on risk communication. We have 12. So actually all I did is I did keyword risk communication and did retrieve documents. So we have 12 here, and then we can page over to the second page, which is where I was, which has this particular document on it. It's right here. And we have our description. And this is what that looks like. It's a PDF presentation. There's another related document that's just a chart that's also in this presentation, but I thought this one was most helpful because it goes through, again, that before, during, and after. How do you to set up those good relationships so that when you're in an emergency, people know where to go and who to listen to, and then what you do when there is a crisis, what type of language to use. How to communicate the right amount of urgency, and how do you plan to do this effectively? Who needs to be involved? Who's in charge of creating these messages and distributing them? So very robust presentation. This was the chart that I was referring to, and it gives a good overview of what to do. And you can even use this as a checklist to give yourself an idea. Are we doing these things, and how do we make sure that we are planning for the future? This connects well to Hideyuki's presentation as well, because communication is such an important component of emergency response planning. So I thought this was a really, really great presentation, and I wanted to share that with you guys today. All right. I think we have one more here. Yes. So featured videos on wateroperator.org. As part of our blog posts and our newsletter, we love to find videos that are educational, entertaining. Particularly the wastewater industry seems to have the most entertaining videos because, you know, it's naturally more humorous than drinking water. But I did want to point this out and how we do these. We always have featured videos. So our featured videos have their own category on our blog, and we share these not just to educate you, but often many of these videos are short, to the point, very educational, because we want you to share these with the public as well. Particularly if you're on social media, you have an email newsletter yourself, whatever you're doing to communicate with the public, sharing other people's videos makes it easier on you because you don't have to create any new content, but you can educate the consumer on why it's important not to flush wipes down the drain or other things that you shouldn't flush. We have lots of videos like this. We even have a share this section in our newsletter, which often has facts and figures and quotes and other types of shareables. We want to make it easy for you to do that ongoing trust-building communication so that when it comes to the crisis time, they're already listening to you. They're already tuned in. That's one of the things that we feel like we excel in here is helping in some of these topics that are a little bit less technical, and then sending you to those resources and training opportunities to get your technical education. All right, I think that's all I have for you today. what I want to share is, first I'll say this is the time to submit your questions. If you have any questions on how to use our website, recommended resources, anything about CEUs, we will help you out with your questions before we go. But if you do need a certificate for this webinar, you can email info@wateroperator.org. We are pre-approved for drinking water operator CEUs in Illinois, but in other states you'll have to submit, and your state primacy agency will determine whether or not they will give credit for this type of training. You may already be aware if webinars are accepted or not, or which topics are accepted. But we will give you a certificate, 1 hour per each of the 3-part series. If you submitted multiple requests, we'll just give you one certificate that lists the total number of hours that you attended, which is why we're delivering them here at the end. Yeah, so if you have any questions, this is the time. Go back to here. We do not have any questions yet. So if we go here to our event calendar, so you can see here this is the 3rd in the series. If you've attended all 3, I really, really appreciate your time and you taking the time to learn something new. When we started this planning for this series, we knew we wanted to do it at the beginning of the year, just kind of as a kickoff to remind you and remind our community of us as a resource, because we want to stick with you throughout the year and be where you go to find information or help connect you to other resources. But we also thought this training would be really, really helpful for new staff, those who are new to your organization and are just getting their feet wet and understanding how the drinking water industry works, how wastewater works. These are some of the high-level topics and some of the best resources. And when all of our recordings are available, we hope you'll continue to share those with new staff to help them get their feet wet and to also use us as their resource. Michael asks, are there any documents on septic tanks? Yes, we do have septic here, and we'll just check on that. Here's the events. You can see we have quite a number of events on septic. You can also search decentralized as well. We have that as a category. We have several different wastewater categories. Decentralized right here. If we go under resources, let's see what we have pulled up here. We have 243 septic-related documents here inside the database. One thing you may also want to be familiar with, now we know that many small communities have public drinking water but septic systems, but we also have a sister program called privatewellclass.org. And I just want to mention that for those of you that may also interface with private well owners. You can see the website looks very similar. We operate a little bit similar and a little bit different. We don't aggregate resources here just because there are so few, but we actually teach a free class for private well owners to help them understand how wells work. And actually that groundwater and well care for non-community water systems was based on this class. Just takes out parts about sampling and treatment and contamination, because obviously that part is regulated. But the meat of it, the factual scientific part, that's all the same. I just wanted to share that as an additional resource for those of you who are interfacing with these different communities. All right, so hopefully that answered your question about septic. Yes, we definitely do index a lot of information. Thank you.
I do want to add that I know that for septic systems, on-site systems, a lot of times they have a different training credit that those operators need to maintain for their license. We in the past tried to we looked for these on-site related trainings, but we decided to stop looking for them. So everything that's septic related that you'll find on our website will be geared towards if you're a wastewater operator and you need to deal with septic systems, it'll be geared more towards wastewater operators for the septic related information.
Great, because of course there is an environmental health community, and they are, maintaining different credentials than water operators. So that's perfect. Thank you. All right, last chance. As always, the same email address you see on the screen that you can use to request your certificate. That's where you can find us anytime. We also have a hotline. It's listed on our website. It's actually on the front page here, all the way at the bottom, right here. So you can call us or email us if you ever need any help, or you really just have a strange question and you need help getting access to that resource. That's what we specialize in, because we have access to a lot of different databases and ways of finding information. So thank you so much for participating, and I appreciate your time. Take care and have a great weekend.